share some of these. Now, they're not going to work for every single student the same way. They're not going to work for the same type of anxiety every way. But what we try to do is we try to have these in our toolbox, have them ready to go. That way, oh, I can try this with this student. It may work one day, it may not the next day. The two things that I've found that are probably kind of the best things to help with any type of anxiety is following the idea of making sure that whatever you're doing, you're being consistent with it. The more consistency you can do in any type of situation, whether it's perfectionistic behaviors, whether it's a fear of something tangible, or whether it's just leaving your side, whatever you find that might work, you need doing that and getting that into your routine. The other part is another C, creativity. Thinking outside the box and trying what at times may seem like the oddest, strangest thing, believe it or not, might work. So I'm going to talk about some of these things here. So the first thing we had up there was deep breathing, and we know the kind of the benefits of that. Sometimes it's hard to sit down with a young child and say, take some deep breaths. You really have to, one, demonstrate that. But I also find that if you can have a tangible or a visual to help them with that, it's even more beneficial. So we have some different things over here. These first worksheets, it's called Lazy 8 breathing. So it's basically having the student take his hand, which is an externalizing thing, putting it on a piece of paper and tracing it around and following a breath in and a breath out based on where his finger is. And you can make it into a game. It can be a slow race, like a snail's pace. And then you can try it fast, okay? But basically what it's doing is it's, rather than just having the student sit there, or the child sit there and say, okay, take some deep breaths into your nose, out your mouth, it's giving them something else to kind of associate that with. There's also another version of that, which is the star breathing. So it's the same idea of getting them to touch or breathe something. A simple balloon is another way of doing that. Giving them a balloon and having them take that deep breaths, even if they're not able to do that properly because of their developmental size, just having them think or work through that. Or even having them visualize their belly like a balloon and putting their hand on their belly so they can feel it and say, okay, breathe, blow your balloon up, and now let the air out. Sometimes if I really have a student who's having a lot of anxiety, and again, here's the silliness in these things, I'll blow it up myself and I'll accidentally let it go in my office and it'll go flying around and make that obnoxious noise, and bam, now they've kind of broke that cycle and now they think that's funny and now they want me to do it again. It's something to kind of get them, we put up there, I use the phrase a lot with my kids, change the channel. Right now you're watching kind of a channel that's making you upset, fearful, and if I turn on, maybe I'll keep using this, if I turn on politics and sit there and watch that for 20 straight hours, I might feel a certain way. But if I can change the channel, put on a funny movie, my favorite movie, now my emotions, my body, everything changes about me. So if they're sitting in class thinking about, is it a fire drill, is it a fire drill, is it a fire drill, sometimes I just have to find a way, or we have to find a way to say, can you change the channel, can you think about something else? And getting them to do that through these little techniques. So that's a little bit of the breathing piece. Some of the other things we do is, Carrie talked a little bit about, is putting a name or putting like kind of an externalized way for the kids to understand that. We have this picture up here. A worry monster, that's a great way, saying, you know, that you feel this way and you have these emotions because there's actually a monster inside you, and the movie Inside Out is a great way to, if they've seen that, to kind of think about all these different feelings and emotions in there. Well, this monster's visiting you, and they even make like monsters like this, so sometimes I'll have this in my office and I'll have them draw what's making them fearful, and they can write it, and they can actually put it and feed it to the monster. So it's kind of taking their emotion and getting it out of them, and okay, it's away. If you don't have a monster, right, having them draw a picture about what's bothering them, and having them crumble it up, tear it up, they think that's fun, and throwing it away, so it's leaving them. It's something that they have control over. So getting them to use language, letting them know that the worry monster is what's causing them to think this way, and the worry monster lies to you, and the worry monster is mean, and you don't want to listen to the worry monster, so you need to take over control of the worry monster. That's just another way. We do have things such as worry boxes. That's a great strategy that I know a lot of other families have shared with me. They just have a box at home, a tissue box or a cardboard box or a shoe box. And what we find is that when kids' anxieties build up, it's because they're thinking about their fears throughout the whole day. So scheduling something called worry time, and that can be literally 5 minutes, 10 minutes in your day. It shouldn't be right before bed, because that's not a time you want to really hash out some new stuff, but maybe it's right before dinner, or maybe it's right when they get home, maybe it's right after dinner. Whatever that time is, your schedule, and say, this is worry time. And when it's that time, what they can do is, you can have a box where they can write down their worries when it's not that time, and put it in there. It's away from you, kind of, again, externalizing. And then when it's that time, you give them your full attention, they can talk about whatever it was bothering them at that time. But the idea behind that is, if you're driving in the car or that morning coming to school, you can say, hey, it's not worry time, I want you to save this for later. I want you to kind of write that down, I want you to save that because we can talk about that during your worry time. And it keeps that consistency. They know every day that, okay, I can't worry about this right now, but I can talk about that because I have that freedom to do that during worry time. And like I said, putting the idea in the box or even in the mouth of this stuffed animal is another way to do that. Some of the other things we do, you mentioned, I heard someone else mention before, just having some tangibles, some fidgets, some different things, whether these are big long pool noodles, and we just slice them up. And it's just something they can keep right there and you can squeeze and you can say, okay, you know, if you're feeling frustrated, this is what I want you to do. If you're feeling upset, I want you to squeeze and I want you to pretend you're taking your emotions and putting it into here, and that's where it's going to be saved. Again, taking it out of them, putting it somewhere else. The distractatory thing, this is something, there's actually like a maze in here. This is something that was sewn together, and inside here is a marble, but it's sewn in a pattern that they can sit there on their lap like this and try to get the marble around. So it's helping them, kind of giving them something to do other than sit and worry. The worry rocks, you mentioned the quarter, we've done that before, but having a soft rock that they can squeeze, put that in. We have little marbles, you get these at AC Moore. These are a great thing to do. Also clay. This is something we use a lot, especially with separation anxiety. This is something we've been doing for a while, is taking the clay, and if they're having trouble and they're missing you throughout the day or someone else, having them put their thumbprint on one side of the clay and having you put your thumbprint on the other side of the clay, and then you just put that in the oven for like 10 minutes, and it makes it into a hard stone that they can keep in their pocket and they can hold it and have kind of a piece of you, and that's a pretty cool thing for them. It's helped a lot with a lot of our students, along with sending a picture, putting a picture inside their desk or folder. The last piece here is all of this, books. Bibliotherapy is an awesome thing. There's so many good authors out there that have really done a good job of really understanding what anxiety looks like in a student. So feel free to check these out. Like I said, this is one of my more favorite ones, especially from a parent perspective. But some of the other ones that are over here are Don't Feed the Worry Bug. So it's kind of the same idea as a worry monster, but in a bug sense. And there's some others, so you can check those out as well.
And just kind of ideas and strategies for you. Just kind of focusing, making sure you're focusing on what's going on right. I know sometimes we do get caught up in this is hard or this is not going well, but just really focusing on what is going right and the strengths and the successes of your child. Another great idea that Mike and I have talked about is just kind of re-author or rewrite. Like what could be different? How could I change this? And that was, I think, more with your older students. Like what do I do to rewrite or re-author what's going on right now? Modeling self-confidence and calmness, showing that you have confidence, you can do this, I know you can. And giving them that time, like we said, to talk it out. Not just ignoring that you have a certain time that you can do it, but that's the only time that we're going to do it, and then we're going to move on. Letting them know that they don't need to be afraid. And also making sure that they do face them and they do try things and not just avoid. That's not going to help them get through. And there'll always be something else that they need to cross, or another situation that might cause anxiety. So how do we work through it? Let's not just avoid it. And also consider community resources. If you are not sure, we are good. We can help with that. We have lots of resources, and we also know how to get you in touch with people that could help you. If you feel like it's kind of getting too big and you're not quite sure what else to do. So those are some ideas for you.
Carrie, can I just add to that one? The one that I like the most for the older children is the idea of majorly listening, because sometimes I find with my 3 kids, their perceptions are totally skewed. Like they're not able to understand maybe where somebody else was coming from, or they're worrying about something that when I ask them specifically, what is the absolute worst that can happen? And then they articulate it and they think about it. And I say, is that so bad? Would you be able to handle it? What would you do? Then they're able to kind of put themselves in that position and realize, oh, and then maybe if they can't identify the worst thing, we'll say, well, name all the possible things that could happen. If you go in tomorrow and you tell him you felt bad when he didn't pick you first to play basketball, what's the worst that's going to happen? And he said, well, he could do this, he could do that, he could do that. would you be okay with this? Well, what would you do then? And we just talk it through, but for me to listen, and then help, everybody has their own perceptions, and my son's perception is his truth. So I respect that, but I really want to help him to understand that other people have their own perceptions. So how can I get him to a point where he recognizes the end result and what it could possibly be, and then feel confident, well, we already talked about if that happened, I would do this, or if this happened, I would do that. So with the older kids, I find that really works with my own especially.
And kind of going to what Melissa said, one of my favorite strategies to do, which is kind of take away, it's in your PowerPoint, but if you search behavior exposure online, it's doing exactly that. It's helping them understand how to kind of approach their fear and having them write down. Now, if you're a younger child, you probably would do this for them. You write down, older children do themselves. But just having them list on a fear ladder, and you draw a ladder there, and there's like templates online. I think we might even have something here for you that goes through this, but writing out kind of the worst case scenario, what would happen, and having them slowly kind of work through these things with them. Going off of that for younger children, this is a really funny book. It's called Something Might Happen, and it kind of, after kids read this, they realize, well, that's just crazy. I can't believe people felt that way. And then what you can do is you can have those conversations. You go, well, remember that time that happened? That was kind of like that, and how can we change that? How can we do something different? So it's kind of, this would be for more older children where they can write, but books are a great way to have those talking points and getting them to slowly fear their fears. There's a great YouTube video of this too. They do it with older women and men, but basically have fears of like spiders, and what they'll do is they'll show them a picture of a fake spider from across the room, and they'll come in and they'll do that for a couple of days, and then it'll be a toy spider on the counter over there, and then they'll get her to a point where she can actually touch that, and then it might be a video of a spider. So what it's doing is moving the ladder to the point where she can be in the same room as a spider, and then maybe even to the point, some people don't always get there, but she might be at a point where she can hold a spider. So it's working, I call it the backwater technique. The water's really high, you put your toes in first, and you slowly can kind of ease in there, and then it's at a point to where it's comfortable. But it works really well with students. We do this with fire drills a lot, to the point where first fire drill, they're outside so they can see everybody coming out, and then to the point where, okay, you're going to be with me by the door, but you're the first out if they're scared of the fire drill. And now I slowly get them to the point where they can be in the classroom and actually walk out hopefully by the end of the year with their class. So a great strategy.
And also, I think one of the papers over there is the what if. I think that kind of goes along with
Oh, yeah,
what
right
we're,
there.
kind of a little bit what we're talking about. And then, just our worries. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to see, but those are just some of the things that we shared with you. They're over there on the table. You can take a look at them and maybe write down if there's anyone that really kind of speaks to you. But everything that's listed there is over there on the table as well.
Sorry we kept you a little late here.
Yeah.
This is our first time doing this, so we definitely have to try to push time a little bit more. But hopefully, like I said, you guys can take something with you, and if it's a little glimmer, a little piece saying, okay, try this. You know, obviously we're here to support you in the building, so not only support your children. So like I said, going back to that consistency piece, the more that we can do the same strategy in the school building, that you are then modeling and reinforcing at home. I love when families say, oh, I've been trying this, you know, it's been working well, great. Can we incorporate this in the classroom somehow? Because that's really what we can build that consistency up there. I love brainstorming, creative ideas. I mean, I have more ideas, I think, for dealing with clowns now than I've ever had before, but it's now, you know, things that, like I said, maybe just very, you know, strange, and you think like, okay, I guess I'll try making a flashlight out of that the student can carry around, you know, and different things. But again, it's other things that we learn and we share on, and we remember these things to pass on to other families. So if there's things that are going well. Thanks for coming. We'll stick around if you have questions. I know be sensitive to your time. Help yourself. Please take some of this with. As I shared, I do not drink coffee, so
Neither do
it's a lot of coffee
Please
here.
drink up, take
Coffee
some
with counselor.
goodies.
We're like, do we need coffee? Well, it's coffee with counselor, so maybe, I think donuts with counselors would be the next thing. I like that
It
idea.
doesn't have the same ring, though.
But feel free to come over and look through these books if you'd like. If you want to jot down, if you have any questions, let us know. I'll set up the resources.
Yeah, we've tried to copy a few things, and we'll try
Yeah.
to, if you like them digitally, just as we'll have your email, so you can let us know on those parts too. And there's also another another great resource that asked us. Kobe's is a family service. They are presenting, or they're having some sessions on just kids, and some of it's on anxiety and just building your child's skills and cooperation. And so this is a flyer on that. It's free. So
Kobe's
there's
offers some good parenting
They really do.
tips, and like, for example, my husband and I are opposite parenting styles, and that can be really challenging, so we've had to really work through that and work together. Another thing is that I can't express to you guys how grateful I am that you came today, because at the end of the day, when your kids come to school, if they're stuck on their minds and they're worrying, they're not going to be learning like they need to. And we know that, and we want your kids to feel good and feel happy and not to be worrying and upset about things. So, you know, anything that you can provide to us or anything that we can do to enhance their experience when they're here at school, we are open to and we definitely want to do. So thanks again, and for our next Coffee with Counselors, bring a friend.
Yeah, we'll have 2 more sessions. So I think we talked about the topics, but if something comes up that we're really seeing, I think that can be flexible as well. So you'll get to see some of the other counselors present as well. So but thank you so much for coming. We do appreciate it.